The content of this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your mental or physical health. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and do not replace personalized care from a licensed professional.
Welcome to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante, a space where a nurse practitioner and educator shares real talk on mental wellness, mindfulness, and navigating life in and out of healthcare. Let's take a moment to breathe, reflect, and grow together.
Welcome to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante, nurturing minds the nurse way. And for today, I am joined by a highly esteemed faculty with our team rooted in care, rising in innovation, a nurse leader's journey beyond the bedside. So I would like to welcome Dr. Maria Reila Molina, DNP, acute nurse practitioner, and also a fellow of the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. Welcome, Dr. Maria Reila, and thank you for sharing this platform with me.
Of course, my pleasure to be here. I'm so happy that you're doing this mindfulness moments amidst all the busy schedules, because at the end of the day, it is essential for staying grounded. And of course, with our cultural background and with our deep-rooted values of family, community, and spirituality, I should include that, because Filipinos, after are very religious, has always been a guiding force in all of our lives. So this is really a good thing that you're doing this.
Thank you so much, Po, for the support. And I think a lot of my past speakers too, are excellent in their own field. So want to tap everybody's specialty so we can bring and inspire other students that are in the process. Because a lot of students will say, we want to hear those specialties that haven't heard about or they're not aware about. So thank you for sharing this platform with me. Let's start with this podcast, tracing your journey from the beginning. What was it like growing up in Laguna, Philippines, and how did your upbringing shape your calling in nursing?
Yeah, so I grew up in Laguna, Philippines. I witnessed the challenges of limited healthcare access and resources because I'm from the province. And then after that, I went to University of City of Manila in Manila. So I got that scholarship. And then of course we have this the community immersion. So I saw that within that community, and especially in my community in Laguna, so my community had so much potential, yet healthcare was often a distant luxury because they're underserved. And then from a young age, I knew I wanted to make a difference in the lives of people who, like my family, didn't always have access to the care they needed. So I grew up poor and then, so with my community, I got my scholarship in University of City Manila. And then so nursing to me was never just a job. It was a calling because my upbringing taught me the value of compassion, resilience, and service. And of course, being in the community of Manila, Tondo, Manila, and the poor underserved population, this lessons actually fueled my desire to pursue a career where I could bridge the gap, offering not just care, but also hope to others. So like me coming into this platform is really humbling at the same time, giving honor to the people that gave me scholarship. So that was my journey from the Philippines up to what I am now here. It's really to serve others and give back.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed by how you emphasize that nursing is a calling and at the same time how to give back to the community. I think that that's also one of our cornerstone and values that are instilled to us back home. And thank you for such a good representation of our Filipino American community too by what you're doing right now. It's just amazing how different nurses and also advanced practice nurses elevating our profession and representation also of being a Filipino. My follow-up question to you, Dr. Maria Reila, is that what was your journey like immigrating to the US and navigating the challenging path from your international student to being a nurse leader? And looking back, what moments affirmed that this was more than just a career? It
Yeah.
was your purpose.
Yes. So immigrating to the United States was an exciting yet daunting experience. Starting as an international graduate from the Philippines. There's this I face the challenges of adapting to a new culture and navigating the complexities of the healthcare system. And then I was coded when I first got here, fresh out from the boat, something like that. So I'm not Vietnamese, but when you're like, I'm not a refugee, but I had that. But anyways, but I never lost sight of the fact that I was here to make a difference. So even with that, people saying sometimes derogatory, kind of like as I grew from I'm already a registered nurse in the Philippines, and it took me a while. So I worked in the ICU and then became like a charge nurse, and then I took my nurse practitioner, and then into becoming a senior advanced practice provider and as a leader. So each step reinforced my belief that this was more than just a career, it's my purpose. And then moments like mentoring new nurses and seeing them grow into leaders, um, it was a constant affirmation that my journey was about more than just personal achievement,
Mm.
and it was more lifting others and impacting communities. Because that's why, as I mentioned to you earlier, that being an FANP, I want other Filipino nurse practitioners to be elevated because we've worked hard, we deserved. So it's really the mentoring and impacting our communities, and of course, uplifting each other. So that was my purpose.
I love what I'm hearing from you, especially there was an ongoing culture of like nurses eating their young, and it's still an ongoing behavior and ongoing pattern. And I think we can break that pattern. And those patterns that remain in the past could actually be a lesson for us moving forward. And it's all about supporting and elevation
Mhm.
of our profession. And thank you for supporting also the Filipino community in terms of like mentorship. I think we really need to uphold those values of bayanihan also in our
Yes,
community.
pioneer.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
And then Dr. Maria, I know you've led in one of the most intense specialties, and this is transplant nursing. What draws you to this kind of work? And for those who are curious about transplant nursing as a specialty, some may have not heard about it. Can you tell us what is this about for you?
Yep. So transplant nursing is a field where we hold both the immense joy of life-saving success and the profound grief of loss, because somebody needs to die in order to do the transplantation. So back in the Philippines, since I graduated from the University of City of Manila, we have clinical rotation in lung center, heart center, and kidney institute of the Philippines. So as a young nurse in the Philippines, I always wanted to do heart transplantation. So when I graduated, applied in Philippine Heart Center. Unfortunately, I was not accepted, but it's always been in my heart. I actually gave a talk in Philippine Heart Center just last year, and it was an immense pride and joy that, like, oh my God, I'm finally giving a talk here, and I was not accepted as a young person. So it's intense because every patient brings a story, a family, a hope. What draws me to this work is the complexity and the potential of transformation. It's about more than just clinical care. It's about walking alongside the patients and their families during one of the most pivotal moments of their lives. I'm drawn to the challenge of making a difference when stakes are highest, and to the resilience that comes from seeing patients overcome unimaginable obstacles. So in transplant nursing, it's so you have this, like, you have the caring part, right? But in transplant nursing, it's the whole family and the community. So it's similar to like being a Filipino. It's just not your patient, it's the whole barangay. So that probably, like the transplant nursing is similar to my upbringing also, because it's the whole barangay that you have to take care of, not just the patient. So that's why I'm very I should say I'm really like addicted to taking care of this transplant patient.
I love how your passion and drive about the bayanihan and also involving individuals, families, and groups in your profession. And I think transplant nursing is something that is evolving and something that is very interesting and something that the audience and also the followers of this podcast can also outreach probably you and be interested. And we would love you to talk about this more in the future and inspire a lot of listeners out there that are wanting to
Mhm.
know more of this. And just a follow up question, you've described transplant nursing as a space where we both hold hope and grief, and where resilience is built not alone, but in community. How have these moments shaped you, and how do you support others, such as students, peers, or teams, in staying grounded through the emotional weight of this work?
Yeah, so that was a very good question. You know, the duality of hope and grief in transplant nursing, as I mentioned to you with the stories of the family and the culture and the barangay, has shaped me deeply. It's humbling to be part of a team where we share both the triumphs and the losses, because there's another person that died. I always tell my students and peers that resilient is not built alone. It's built in community. That's why I always emphasize the barangay, and that's something that we live through as we live in the Philippines. Whether it's supporting a colleague through a difficult case or reflecting on the emotional weight with them, we lean on each other. The bayanihan that you mentioned also. I support others by encouraging open conversations about emotions, fostering a culture of empathy, and reminding them to care for themselves as deeply as they are care for their patients, because self-care is also very important. This work is emotionally taxing, but it's also where we build the deepest connection. So that's why I love transplant nursing.
I love it. And that's basically part of hope and grief as part of also mental health, making it as a priority. I know patients have like a 360-degree roller coaster emotions, especially when they're undergoing this process. And it's not only them, but also the family are highly involved. And sometimes and I teach my patients about the stages of Grieving, which is published by Dr. Cobbler-Ross, which talks about
Mm-hmm.
denial,
Yep.
anger, bargaining, depression, and
Mm-hmm.
acceptance. The mnemonics.
Early the stages,
Yeah.
yes.
Sometimes it could not be linear. It could be you could be jumping from back and forth, and I just have a strong feeling that if we properly support them on your
Mm-hmm.
end and our end as mental health providers too, I think it will create a impact to how the mental health care outcomes is.
Yes. So I applaud you for doing what you do. I couldn't do the psychiatric because that's why I was like, all transplant, no, my transplant patient, we always refer them to psychiatry because, there's anxiety going into transplantation already. And then the medications we're giving them. So it's double whammy for them. So it's like psychiatry is actually the biggest portion of your transplantation. So if we have like a transplant psychiatrist actually, because going into pre-transplant evaluation, we they're already anxious and then you give them some medication that had side effects. So in our multidisciplinary team, transplant psychiatry is a core, it's one of the core people that makes the transplantation perfect. There's no perfect in any sense, but doable because without transplant psychiatry, we will not be able to survive, to tell you the truth, because we can take care of their problems in medicine if they're immunosuppressant, but if they're psychologically not prepared to take the meds, then they're gonna die. So that's why you guys, the transplant, I should say transplant psychiatry is really a very important part or partner in our transplant care.
Wow, that's great to hear that there will be a transplant psychiatric specialist, and I think that will be an evolving field also
Yes.
that we can explore on, and then basically help a lot of like psych NPs and also psychiatrists to be involved with it. And thank you for opening doors on such innovative ideas too, and also I'm learning so much from this conversation. Congratulations on now teaching the HIST course to DNPs at Rutgers School of Nursing. Yay! And as an answer to the shortage of the faculty, can you tell us more about what this course covers and how does technology intersect in nursing practice and why does it matters at all?
Thank you very much for the congratulation. Well, I'm teaching the HIST or HIST, Health Information System and Technology. It's a course at Rutgers School of Nursing. It's an exciting opportunity. Although I started last year in 2024 nursing informatics and evidence-based practice at City University of New York. So at the backbone of that, it's kind of like it's elevated a little bit because so this is for the DNP students. So this course equips Doctor of Nursing practice with the skill to integrate technology into patient care and healthcare management effectively. We dive into how technology is transforming everything from patient records to the delivery of care. And we explore how healthcare professionals can leverage these tools to improve patient outcomes and streamline clinical practice. Technology is the future of nursing. It's essential for efficiency, accuracy, and innovation. So I did this course with the belief that understanding and utilizing technology is not just an option, but a critical aspect of advancing healthcare. For example, in your case, psychiatric nursing, there are so many things that we can do, innovative things in health information system technology. Like apparently you're doing telemedicine now with psychiatry, and that's an evolving field. Without that, then we can reach the underserved population. So I'm teaching my student to find ways to like do the digital divide, because if you have you don't have the technology, then how can you do the innovation? So it also teaches. I also encourage my students to look into healthcare policy, because if we incorporate this health information system technology in policy making, and then asking our lawmakers to provide educational grant for this underserved population, especially with psychiatry, because mental health is our biggest issue nowadays, then we will just not survive, because we aim to thrive. So that's what I'm encouraging my students. And I also, in this course also, I also wanted to tell my DNP students about us being, because you're also a doctor of nurse practitioner, that we are implementation scientists. There's always this divide between PhD and DNP, but after all, we, the DNPs, are the one that implement the science. And there's always this cautionary tale that, yeah, they're not scientists. They just implement evidence-based. But at the end of the day, it's not theoretical. It's a world, like our worldview and a clinical practice. So that's what I'm trying to do with my DNP students. Write something about your evidence-based practice. And so once you publish, there are going to be more and more DNPs. And then that way, we're not just going to be seen as clinicians. We're also researchers. We're implementation science. So there's still a gap between practice and clinical practice. So research and clinical practice, but we are the one in the middle. We are the intersection. We are at the intersection. So I'm trying to do my best with this 18 students that I have in the DNP for Rutgers School of Nursing to kind of like write their evidence-based practice for their capstone or their not dissertation, their paper. And then that way, once it's all published, then we can really, because there's always power in numbers. We're DNPs are actually getting the number is increasing. So we just need to publish and help each other. So hopefully in the future, there's a forum for all of us, the DNPs, and then that way we can say that we are really true implementation scientists. We follow evidence-based guidelines, we implement that. So we're not theory-based, but we're there in a clinical setting, in the real world setting. So that's what I'm trying to do with my students.
That's amazing, Dr. Maria Reila. And I'm also like enlightened by my role as a DNP, because I'm always hearing that, like, okay, PhD are researchers and DNP. I think you really, really nailed on how you kind of like delineate our role as PhD or DNP, and kind of like if we work together, I think there will be a strong voice and we can amplify it also. And there will be a lot of like students that are kind of like undecided. They wanna
Mhm.
either wanna do the PhD or DNP. But I think what you are emphasizing is that we can also bring something into the table, not only the PhD, but also the DNP has strong voice too. And thank you
Yep.
for doing that. And I think an organization like a DNP of color, which I'm also a member of,
Oh, that's
uh,
great.
yeah, that's also something that I think the audience and the followers of the podcast can follow through. So if you're a DNP of color, please follow their website. And there's also membership, and we have collaborative meetings over there that talks about how we can amplify and also voice our change for the
Yep. I'd like
DNP.
to deal more with the implementation science. I'm actually doing more of like a number of articles already for about this, because as you said, we should amplify and elevate DNPs, because we are basically at the intersection of the real world, and we're not theory based, we're practice based. And that's what it's needed in this healthcare environment that we have right now. So
Thank you so much for that. And I think as DNP, we always hear the evidence-based practice and implementation, and I think that's what we can do to improve patient healthcare outcomes too. Now, you often speak about thinking beyond the bedside,
mhm.
which you're actually doing right now. What does that mean to you, and what advice do you give to nurses struggling to imagine themselves in a non-traditional or hybrid roles?
Yeah. So thinking beyond the bedside means recognizing that as nurses, our impact extends far beyond patient care in the hospital room. It's about leveraging our unique perspective to shape the system, policies, and practices. It's really incorporated with that the health information system technology. And the nursing informatic itself, it's just not like the NPs, all the nurses. For nurses who struggle to imagine themselves in a non-traditional roles, I encourage them to see their skills as transferable, whether it's in education, research, leadership, or policy. The foundation of nursing is critical thinking, empathy, and collaboration. There's so much room for us to influence the future of healthcare. And sometimes that means stepping outside of a traditional role and creating new opportunities. And that's why I love teaching HIST and the nursing informatics for evidence based, because it cultivates the future, creating new opportunities. So that's why I think that's what I would like to speak about beyond the bedside.
Thank you. And I think it's evolving, and also a lot of nurses are more open about different roles.
Mhm.
And it's just finding somebody also to kind of like inspire them and emulate what they're doing, and kind of like multiply what you're doing. Thank you so much for that. Now, representation is more than visibility. It's about shaping culture and systems. As a Filipino American leader in both clinical and academic spaces, how have you used your platform to broaden perspectives and open doors for others?
Yeah, so as a Filipino American, I've always felt it's not just about being visible, but about shaping the culture and systems within healthcare. I've used my platform to highlight the importance of diversity in leadership, advocating for policies that create inclusive environments for everyone. By mentoring others and speaking globally, Because I was the past president of International Transplant Nurse Society, I aim to broaden perspectives, whether through my international speaking engagement or by creating space for other voices to be heard. I believe we must challenge existing norms and work together to ensure that healthcare leadership reflects the communities we serve. And the PNNA is like a great platform. And I, as mentioned to you earlier, I just joined this year. So I will be extending, because at the end of the day, my culture, my religious belief, and then spirituality all in one is best served with my kababayan. So, I've extended it a number of ways to University of Pennsylvania because I've been working here for 16 years. But this year I said, I really need to extend it to my kababayan because at the end of the day, we should be elevating each other and working with my heritage as well as working with colleagues like you. So I should just not, because here at Penn I only have one Filipino friend. So it's like it's very few. But so now I'm actually, as I mentioned to one of my I'm spreading my wings to my kababayans, and hopefully I would be able to do more with the PNNA.
I love it. Going back to our grassroots are really important, and I just love how you are connected with the vision of amplifying and also creating an impact to our
Mm-hmm.
Filipino culture and community. So thank you so much for that. I think we need more space and platform and also awareness about how we can do that. Elevate our profession as Filipino
Mm-hmm.
nurses. Now you're wearing so many hats, Dr. Maria Reila. What's your small daily ritual or mindset shift that helps you to stay grounded in the middle of everything that you're doing?
So, I think the key to staying grounded is taking a moment each day to reflect and center myself, and then also spirituality is a big deal for us Filipinos. So I still go to, like pray and connect with God. So that's basically one. And then also for me, it's a quiet, quiet cup of tea in the morning, just a few minutes of peace before the world starts moving because it's very chaotic working also here at Penn. So this small rituals helps me ground my thoughts, check in with myself, and set my intentions for the day. So that's why I make it a point that I talk to myself and I also talk to God. It's like I'm not very spiritual, but thinking that, "Oh, Lord, help me for the day," and I could make this. So that helps me a lot. And it's also a reminder that self care. That's why I need to make sure I do self care is essential, not just for me, but for everyone I support. So that's why, because like if I don't do self care, then I'm not going to be able to be nice to my colleagues. So that's why it's a domino effect. So if I take care of myself, then others will take care of themselves too. So that's the part that I do for because as you said, I have many hats, and I'm very in some ways very ambitious. I should say that, but I stay grounded knowing that, I am doing this with the purpose, and that, in some ways I was called in, as I mentioned, nursing is a calling. So I am called into this profession, not just for my patient, but also to elevate others and help in the community. So that's the ritual and the mindset that I go just to stay grounded.
Love it. And as they said, our mindset is our biggest asset. And one thing that we can also help our co-nurses and also other advanced practice roles is self-care, right? How can we take care of others when we don't know how to take care of ourselves? So I always tell my colleagues also, please try to hydrate,
Mm.
sleep, take some time off from work if you have to, because being mindful about your feelings is very important, right? Like focusing in the present. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them dwell too much into the past or even dwell
Yes.
too much into the future. They're overthinking and also trying to do a lot of things that are not good for their mental health. And I tell them, gotta take a pause and doing nothing at all sometimes in some days that you don't feel like doing anything and don't feel guilty about it, but make sure to recharge and reset your mindset.
Recharge and reset. That's a good one.
Yes. And with all your accomplishments, what keeps you humble and what keeps you hungry to keep on pushing?
So, what keeps me humble is a reminder that my journey is a product of so many people who've supported me. So, from from my scholarship, whether it's my family, mentors, or colleagues, I just remember these people who have supported me. I wouldn't be who I am without their support. So that's why I'm trying to give back because, I was, I was poor, but I'm better off now because of the people who have supported me. And then also, every success is a shared victory. What keeps me hungry is knowing that there's always more to learn, more to give, and more to impact. I see my work as a lifelong commitment to advancing healthcare, and I'm always motivated by the idea that there's so much more I can do to improve patient care and mentor the next generation of clinicians. So that keeps me moving forward and hungry.
I love it. I can sense that very ambitious, empowered woman like you and all our listeners and followers, please listen to Dr. Maria Reila. She's emphasizing what we need to do to fuel up our desire to help people, and creating an impact and humility is very important, especially for our longevity of our profession.
Mhm.
And for those listening and watching us, Dr. Molina, there's students, could be leaders or dreamers. What's one message you hope they take away with them from your journey?
So I wanted to, so my journey, I wanted to pass it on to them also, that their journey is yours to shape. It's your life, it's your purpose. I can inspire you and influence you, but at the end of the day, the takeaway is very simple. Your journey is yours to shape, and you have the power to impact the world. Not No matter where you start, whether you're at the bedside, in a classroom, or in a boardroom, your voice and your actions matter. Keep learning, keep advocating, and never underestimate the difference you can make, both for your patients and I would say for the world.
Wow, that's very empowering and also inspiring to hear from you, especially Dr. Maria Reila. Some listeners and followers of this podcast are very interested about your experience about Harvard Medical School genetics and being
Mm-hmm.
certified from it. Can you walk us through how was this program shape
Okay.
your profession? And for those who are interested to get into it, what will be your advice?
Yeah, so I started with the transplant nursing, right? So that's my main, and then I love to know about genetics and genomics because there are so many cardiac inherited disease out there that can easily be learned into and prevented. So it's more of the prevention because at the end of the day, when it's already there, it's inherited. It's more about risk stratification and then also prevention. So my DNP, my Doctor of Nursing Practice, is about genomics education program. So I taught the bedside nurses as well as APPs, advanced practice providers here at Penn, about genetics and genomics. So when I finished my capstone project at Rutgers University for my genomics education program, I wanted to elevate myself. How could I be more acceptable, or how can I elevate myself as a genomics education program evaluator if I don't have a certification? So there's this Harvard Medical School, and this is an online. But the thing with this online is they're a little bit rigorous. It's like a 3 months. They have projects, and then they also have exams. So you can get a certificate if you finish the course. But one thing that's I'm really proud of is because if you don't have like 85 and above for the exams, those are final exams. If then you won't have the certificate of achievement. So I was so happy that, that I got the certificate of achievement, because in some ways it also empowered me when I teach the course, because even in the health information system technology, I teach genomics, like for genomics in clinical setting, because, genetic testing is out there, but just understanding genetics itself, it's it's very muddy. You know what I mean? There are simple ways to make it work. So that's why when I took the Harvard Medical School genetics essential, it's and got the certificate of achievement, then I would really so happy about it. And then after that, then as I mentioned, I'm with a PNA now. So I'm actually doing so I have submitted an IRB here at Penn to do a Pinoy DNA project. So it's really like promoting integrated nutriogenomics, like the nutrients, because our culture, our food can address the genetic risk specific to Filipino population. The project seeks to empower individuals and knowledge and intervention that can transform healthcare. So this is my new project that I'm working with PNNA New Jersey. So the Harvard Medical School certification is to make me more credible, because you wouldn't go to my class if I'm not certified, right? So that's one of the reasons why I took that certification. So I hope sometime in November that IRB is approved, and then I could work with PNNA, and then do it's a six modules. So it describes about our culture, our heritage, the Pinoy food that we're doing, because it's nutriogenomics, nutrients and the genomics, which is the genetic makes up, and the environment. So, and hopefully that could raise, build an infrastructure to support genomic-based healthcare in Filipino communities, and then also bridge the gap in healthcare access, ensure that we Filipinos are able to, hopefully can be replicated in the future. But we'll start with Pinoy DNA first, because we have special culture, and why there's diabetes and the correlation between diabetes and heart disease, and why our Filipinos BMI are like we're on like BMI of less than 25, but we have diabetes because it's the feast and famine. I'm telling you a lot of things, but there's 6 modules, and I hope that you can participate on that one.
Oh my God, I would love to participate in that one. And so I've said, yeah, diabetes, hypertension, stroke, all of those are what I'm seeing also in clinical practice with my patients. And I always tell them, okay, if you have those, and then if you have a mental health also, you're either depressed or anxious, then it's like a domino effect. The hypertension, diabetes,
Yep.
and stroke risk factors, kind of like a domino effect for both. So I think your program will actually address those issues to better their mental health care outcomes too, because they could be vice versa, affect each other. I'm so excited for your big
Yep,
project.
I'm still working on the IRB. So we haven't. So I actually just need time to submit it. I submitted it already, just some revisions because of the tweaking of because I might do a focus group afterwards after the 6 modules. PNNA New Jersey, they're very helpful. So we'll start that, and then we'll replicate it with the other chapters eventually.
That's amazing, and thank you for doing that. And a lot of our kababayans are really needing your support and basically to inspire and know what you're doing. And being an international speaker, you've been to different countries. I would
Yes.
like to ask, which one is your favorite out of all of this international speaking engagement that you did? And I know that each culture or each country has a story. What is your most favorite out of
So
all?
I would always want to like the Czech Republic because that's my first speaking engagement. So you know, like in your everything that comes first is your most special one, right? So it was in 2012. It actually started my career. So in 2012, I gave a talk about Viagra. You know, Viagra in 2012, it's used for erectile dysfunction, but here at Penn in 2010, because the paper was published in 2012, we were using Viagra for patients who have RV dysfunction, and then people who's supposed to be not transplanted because they cannot be transplanted because their RV is just so big. And we put them Viagra. So at the end of the day, Viagra is like, so it's a vasodilator in the ED, but it's also dilate the pulmonary artery. So we in 2010 we did a retrospective analysis of our heart transplant patient, and since then in 2012 it's been replicated by other centers, and that make me like, oh my, and I'm a nurse practitioner, so actually when I presented in Prague, I'm not even a DNP that then yet at that time. He called me Dr. Molina. So I was like, oh my God. I said, no, I'm a nurse practitioner because like usually they're cardiologists. It's in an international forum. So I always remember that I was scared, but I said, I'm going to represent it. This is my paper. I was mentored by a cardiologist, Dr. Forfius. I'm also I'm very happy that he supported me. But that's the part that I always remember because it's my first stint and my first experience speaking to an international audience, and they're all cardiologists. So that inspired me.
Oh my God, you're really a global nurse practitioner. And a lot of people wanted to grow up like you for sure. And I'm a fan of your work. I've been reading also your publications. And out of these publications, which one do you think is your favorite out of these publications that you've done?
So, I know there's a lot of publications, but aside from the transplant nursing that we're doing and during the COVID era also, one of my favorites also, well, it's still not published in a peer reviewed journal. It's just in LinkedIn, is implementation science. I'm working on it because this is something that I am more passionate about because all of the other publications I have I had is actually interprofessional collaboration. So with the implementation science that I am still working on right now, it's very close to my heart because we need to elevate TNP. So that's basically it's still in it's just it's not it's a non-peer reviewed at LinkedIn, but I'm hoping to publish it in JANP. So I actually just yesterday submitted the manuscript. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes, it will happen and we'll get a manifest. As they said, right? If you think
Yes.
positive, it will happen.
Yes.
And let's
I
claim it.
submitted it just last night. So I'm like, I just wrote to the editor actually. It's not a manuscript yet because right, with a publication, you need to like make sure that you write to the editor and see if it's a good fit. Because if it's not a good fit, you don't want to put all your energy in a manuscript if they don't like it, right? So that's another thing that we also need to do with our DNPs, like elevate our profession by encouraging each other the steps of how to publish. Because if there's more DNP publishing, then we're not gonna be looked down anymore. We're gonna be looked as they are the true implementation scientists. Because in European countries, specifically University of Copenhagen and Denmark, you can be a master's in social work or master in nursing, and they call you implementation scientist. In America, the DNPs are not called implementation science. Because they're all restricted to PhD. There's always this dichotomy of PhD are better than DNP. So one time I actually said like go to Europe. Master's degrees are implementation scientists. It's something like the mindset of the American nurse practitioners and scientists also. And I'm not saying that we should compete, because there's a theory base about, with the PhDs, but we implement those. So if we work together, then we can have better patient outcomes. And I think if we also collaborate with a PhD, then also we can be elevated. Like, oh, that's why I went into genetics, because there's only few people that goes into genetics. So that's why I picked that as my, well, first of all, it's very interesting to me. And then second, it can elevate our status as doctor of nursing practice. So that's why I chose it.
I'm very, very impressed by what you told me. I'm also enlightened by today. And thank you for broadening my perspectives on the role of DNPs and also in European countries, because I'm only aware about what is ongoing trend here, and as an educator it really, really opened my eyes. And also thank you for shedding some light on it. And to all the viewers and followers, for sure they're learning so much from this podcast. And also congratulations on being a fellow of AANP. And for those who are listening to this podcast, may you walk us through what was your process of doing this, and how can they be a fellow in the future if they have that goal?
So first get a sponsor. So you will have a primary sponsor and a secondary sponsor. First thing that you should do is your CV. Make sure your CV is well. So you don't need to be public. You don't need to be like publishing a gazillion of things. It's just like, and then when you write, it's just not what you do. It's like, for example, I did not put in like I'm a nurse practitioner and this is what I do, because they expect you of that. But what's your impact? For example, in your case, I'm going to make an example for you. You with this podcast, so there's, and you write like 100,000 people listening to your podcast, enlightening with this mindset. So, and it's your duty to the people, to the public. So don't explain what you do, because they're expecting you to do a best job. They're expecting you to be good at what you do. So it's what your impact to others. So in your case, that's why, I could be your sponsor, because this platform actually is very, because your impact is not just within your organization. It needs to be outside your organization. So you being like a member of the PNNA, and I did it retrospectively. Like I did it in advance. I did it, like afterwards, after I became an FAANP. But my goal is to like, hopefully I could sponsor, because you can sponsor 2 people in a year. So you can be a primary or a secondary. So, and then that way, if more Filipinos, because actually in the ANP in San Diego, if you were able to, you were not there. So there's like 75 of us now in that chat, in that forum that we just met in San Diego. So we have numbers. Like, and then I think I was only the number 5 or number 6 in Filipino FANP. So when I saw like, oh my God, like I should be sponsoring more Filipinos. That's why I joined the PNA. It's so I could, like you guys are doing a lot of impactful and more influential things that I'm doing. Mine is like really the speaking engagement and all those things. But for the underserved population, we could capitalize on that. So for anybody who's listening, we can work on making you, so that will be a domino effect too. So I sponsor you, then you sponsor another person. So by the end of the day, we can have lots of Filipinos in the FANP, because we have a big workforce, and we, just like the nursing, like we are, and we are taking care of the high risk one and the crazy patients actually. They gave us like, since you're so nice, you take care of this patient. They always say that, because we have this capacity to be more resilient and at the same time caring and more empathetic. So I know Filipinos are really cool, I should say.
And thank you for enlightening us with that one. And I know sometimes we can feel underappreciated and undervalued, but I think what we can bring to the table is that we are also hardworking, we are empathetic, and also very resilient.
Mhm.
And a lot of our Filipino and kababayan are actually doing well in different aspects, either in academia, clinicians, what you're doing, which makes us so proud and which we unlock the possibilities that in nursing we could do so much, not
Mhm.
just the traditional role. And that brought us to our rooted in care, rising in innovation, and a nurse journey beyond the bedside. I would like to also say thank you to you, Dr. Maria Reila, for being generous about your time. I know your
Course.
time is very essential, and you're doing so much. Harvard Medical School genetics. What else? You're doing professor work in Penn Medicine, transplant symposium course directors. Oh my God, you have so much to offer. And one thing that I can tell you is that 1 hour for our podcast is not enough. And then we have to do more and more of this so that we can amplify your specialty, and also probably in the future will be to multiply what you're doing so that we can create a global impact, because I know
Thank you
if it's
also for
just you and
inviting
it's a
me.
community, it's a greater impact.
Thank you also for inviting me because you're doing an awesome job. This podcast is like hopefully will reach a lot, and you can write that also for your FANP application.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Molina. And Dr. Molina, for those who are interested in outreaching you and interested in following you in your LinkedIn, may you tell the audience where they can outreach you?
Yep. So my LinkedIn is Maria Reila, Reila Molina. And then you can also just Google that and you'll see my name. And then if you want to like reach me, you can also Google Maria Reila Molina because it will show up Penn Medicine. And that's my email will be Maria Molina at penmedicine.upenn.edu. So
Thank you so much.
that's the best because the other at Rutgers as well as at City University of New York, I don't open my email that much because my main work is here at Penn Medicine. So
Oh my God, so happy to connect with you. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. And I learned so much today. And for all the viewers and followers out there, please check out Dr. Maria Reila Molina. And then Dr. Maria Reila Molina, one final question. 5 to 10 years from now, where are you envisioning yourself? And what is your final call to action for those who are listening to this podcast?
so 10 years from now, I hope to be still teaching, like in state university, because like City University of New York is a state university of New York, and Rutgers University is a state university of New Jersey. Probably although I work at an Ivy League school, I like the state universities probably because where I came from. I came from City University of Manila. It's a state university in Manila. So I think I wanted to give back to the people who's underserved and not the people in Ivy League that's rich. Of course, I like the money part. That's why I work at Penn. But giving back to the students that that don't have much money but really want to learn, because it's not really where you graduated. It's really like your perseverance as well as your resilience to be better in what you do. And then I always wanted to I would like to close by saying that true leadership in health care comes from a place of empathy, continuous learning, and the unwavering belief that every patient and every colleague deserves the best of us. We don't just treat symptoms, we shape lives, inspire growth, and build communities that heal together. So I like to close with that.
I love it. And thank you for emphasizing on mental wellness. And thank you for inspiring us on how to do better over and above and beyond. So there you go again, Dr. Maria Reila, a global, international recognized nurse practitioner. And I'm so proud of you, and thank you for doing such a good representation of our Philam community.
Great. Thank you
Yay.
also.
Thanks for listening to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante. Be sure to follow the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. If you find value in our time together, leave a quick review. It helps more people discover the space we're creating. For updates and more reflections, follow us on social media. Until next time, take care.